Ryan and Cole started their careers at the same company in the same year on the same salary. By 32, they are still earning almost exactly the same amount. But nobody looking at their lives from the outside would believe that. Ryan drives a car that turns heads. He wears clothes that communicate success clearly and immediately. His flat is in the right part of town, and his social media tells a consistent story of someone who has arrived. Cole drives a car that nobody notices. He wears clothes that are clean and simple and entirely unremarkable. His flat is comfortable and practical and would not appear in anyone's idea of what success looks like. If you were asked to guess which one of them was wealthier, you would almost certainly choose Ryan. You would be wrong. At 32, Cole has a growing investment portfolio and a meaningful emergency fund and a financial position that is quietly and significantly ahead of where most people his age will ever reach. Ryan has an image. A very convincing and very expensive image. Today we are going to look at exactly what separates these two people. Not their income and not their intelligence and not their discipline, but a single fundamental difference in how they think about the relationship between money and appearance. And why the choice Cole made quietly and without fanfare is one of the most powerful financial decisions any person can make. Before we look at what Cole does differently, we need to understand why Ryan does what he does. Because Ryan is not unusual or foolish or financially irresponsible in any obvious sense. Ryan is doing something deeply human. He is using money to communicate something about himself to the world around him. And the world around him is responding exactly as expected, treating him as someone who has done well and is going somewhere. This is not a new behavior. Humans have used visible possessions to signal status and belonging and success for as long as there have been possessions to own. What has changed in the modern world is the cost of that signaling. The number of categories in which you are expected to signal the correct level of success has expanded dramatically. The car and the clothes and the holidays and the phone and the address and the restaurant choices and the gym and the brands visible in your home when someone visits. Each individual category feels modest. Together they form a financial commitment that can consume an enormous proportion of an income that would otherwise be more than sufficient to build genuine long-term security. Ryan does not think of himself as spending on appearances. He thinks of each individual item as a reasonable and justified expense for someone at his level. The car is professional and appropriate. The clothes are an investment in how he is perceived at work. The holidays are a reward for working hard, and every single one of those justifications is partly true. The problem is not that any individual item is unjustified. The problem is that the combined total of maintaining the visible version of success consumes most of the financial surplus that would otherwise be building the actual version of it. Let us look at the actual numbers, because this is where the difference between Ryan and Cole stops being abstract and becomes something you can genuinely feel. Ryan and Cole both earn £48,000 a year. After tax, that is roughly £32,000. Approximately £2,670 per month. Ryan's visible lifestyle costs him roughly this every month. Car finance £420 and rent in a desirable area £1,200 and clothes and grooming £200 and social spending. Dinners and events and holidays averaged monthly £350 and various subscriptions and memberships £150. That is £2,320 a month on the visible version of his life, leaving him approximately £350 a month for everything else, savings and emergencies and any unexpected expense. £350 from a £48,000 salary. Cole's invisible lifestyle costs him roughly this every month. Rent in a practical area £800 and transport on a paid-off modest car running costs only £90 and food and essentials £400 and genuine personal enjoyment. The things he actually values, £200. That is £1,490 a month on his actual life, leaving him over £1,180 a month that goes directly and automatically into his investment account. Same income, same starting point. £1,180 a month invested consistently from 32 to 60 at 7% average annual growth produces approximately £1,040,000. Ryan's £350 monthly surplus, if saved consistently rather than consumed by life's inevitable surprises, produces approximately £310,000 over the same period. The gap between those two outcomes is not a gap in income. It is not a gap in investment knowledge or financial sophistication. It is entirely and precisely the gap created by the cost of Ryan's image. Here is the thing about Cole that is worth understanding clearly. Cole is not depriving himself. He is not living a joyless or uncomfortable life. He is not eating badly or dressing poorly or refusing to enjoy anything. He simply made a distinction that most people never make, between the things he spends money on because they genuinely improve his life and the things he would spend money on primarily because of what they communicate to other people. The car is the clearest example. Cole drives a reliable, modest car that gets him from one place to another safely and without stress. He has zero emotional attachment to what that car says about him to the person in the next lane. Ryan's car payments over 10 years will cost him somewhere in the region of £50,000 in total finance costs. Cole will spend roughly £12,000 on running costs for a car he owns outright over the same period. That £38,000 difference between them is not luxury versus deprivation. It is the cost of the signal. Just the signal. The same principle applies across almost every spending category. The clothes that communicate professional success cost significantly more than clothes that are simply clean and well-fitting. The address that signals the right neighborhood costs significantly more than an address that is simply comfortable and practical. The holiday that produces shareable content costs significantly more than the kind of rest and travel that Cole actually finds genuinely restorative. None of this is about judging Ryan's choices. It is about making visible the price of a very specific thing that most people pay for without ever consciously deciding to. The price of being seen as wealthy rather than the price of actually becoming it. Cole did not invent this principle. It is one of the most consistent patterns found in the financial lives of people who build genuinely significant wealth on ordinary incomes. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest people in recorded history, still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. Not because he cannot afford something more impressive. Because the house does exactly what a house needs to do, and he has no interest in spending money to communicate something to people who are looking. This pattern repeats across a very wide range of genuinely wealthy people, not all of them but a significant and consistent number, who accumulated real financial security on incomes that were not exceptional by choosing invisibility over performance. The reason this works is simple and worth stating clearly. Wealth is not what you earn. Wealth is what you keep and grow after you have covered your genuine needs. And the single largest drain on that kept and grown portion for most people on ordinary incomes is not food or housing or essential transport. It is the ongoing cost of maintaining a visible version of success that runs ahead of the actual version. Cole understood this at 28. Not because he read it somewhere necessarily, but because he sat down one afternoon and did the actual math on what his life cost versus what it needed to cost to genuinely meet his real needs. The gap between those two numbers was the moment the choice became obvious. He was not choosing between a good life and a bad one. He was choosing between a life that looked good to other people and a life that was genuinely becoming something worth having. So here is the full, honest picture of what separates Ryan and Cole. It is not income, and it is not intelligence, and it is not luck. It is the answer to one question that most people never ask themselves directly. How much of what I spend every month exists because it genuinely improves my life, and how much of it exists because of what it says about me to people who are watching? That question is uncomfortable because the honest answer for most people includes a significant amount in the second category. And it is uncomfortable not because the spending is wrong in any moral sense, but because once you see it clearly, you also see what it is costing your future self. Ryan is not a bad person, and he is not making irrational decisions within the framework he is operating in. He is simply operating in a framework that was never designed to make him wealthy. It was designed to make him look wealthy. And those two things, in the real math of how money actually works over time, are almost perfectly opposed to each other. The quiet choice Cole made, to let his financial position grow invisibly while his visible lifestyle remained ordinary, is not a sacrifice. It is the recognition that the only audience whose opinion of your financial life ultimately matters is the one you will face in 20 years when the numbers finally tell the full story. This week, ask yourself one honest question about one category of your spending. Is this genuinely for me, or is this for the version of me that other people are supposed to see? Just one category. The answer might surprise you. Share this with someone who is working incredibly hard to look successful and quietly wondering why the actual security never quite arrives. I will see you in the next one.